Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy and governance. I am Hamza Idris. There has been an easy calm in the Middle East following Iran's retaliatory attacks on Israel with barrage of missiles and drones in response to the Israel strike on its consulate in Damascus, which killed 13 people. The Iran-Israel face-off is coming at the peak of deadly Israel's onslaught on civilians in Palestine, which has left about 35,000 people killed and 76,575 wounded since October 7. On the other hand, Israel claims that 1,139 of its citizens, including 764 civilians and 373 personnel, were killed, while 248 persons were taken hostage during the October 7 attack by Hamas. While the United States considers new sanctions on Tehran following the retaliatory attacks on Israel, the United Nations is expected to vote Thursday on Palestinian request to become permanent member of the global body. The renewed push by Palestine, which is backed by a regional group of Arab countries, is coming amidst concerns over possible veto by the US of any favorable resolution, just as Israel weigh response options in the face of growing calls for restraint. It is against this backdrop we'll be engaging with a seasoned diplomat, Ambassador Suleiman Dahiru, on the implications of the Iran-Israel face-off on global peace and stability. Ambassador, welcome to our program.
Thank you.
Once again, we are happy having you at this time.
Thank you so much for
having me. And we'll take a short break. When we return, the conversation with the ambassador commences. Don't go away. Yes, once again, Ambassador, welcome.
Thank you.
We published an interview you granted us in the newspaper, the Daily Trust. And what you said is Iran's retaliatory attack is justifiable.
Yes.
Can you elucidate? Can you shed more light on this?
Okay, now in diplomacy, there's a word we use, reciprocity. Reciprocity. If you do something against my interest, I also do something against your interest. If you expel diplomats from your own country, we also reserve the right to expel diplomats from our own country. Now coming to the retaliatory attack by Iran, we have to look at it from far behind.
Okay.
It's not something that you look at it within a short period of time and understand the politics.
For instance, where some people are just making reference to the attack in Damascus.
Yes, so it's what of before.
Okay, all right.
Now, as I said before, and I will say it without fear of any contradiction, Israel has been behaving most irresponsibly, like an unguided missile or a loose cannon, behaving as if it is not answerable or accountable to anybody. Now, without any provocation, Israel attacked, bombed the consulate of Iran in Syria.
Yeah.
You can see, leaving Iran to go to Syria to commit a criminal offense. According to United Nations Convention on Diplomatic Relations and United Nations Convention on Consular Relations, diplomatic and consular premises are inviolate. You cannot violate. You cannot violate the sanctity of diplomatic missions. But Israel went to the extent of bombing and killing people there. If you remember recently, Mexico cut off diplomatic relations with Ecuador. Why did it do it? Simply because Ecuador decided to invade the embassy of Mexico in Quito.
Okay.
And smoked out the vice president of Ecuador that had taken refuge. Under diplomatic relations, you don't do that. Mexico felt strongly aggrieved by the behavior of Ecuador.
Yes.
Therefore, it decided to cut off diplomatic relations with that country.
Which is acceptable by United Nations standard.
Yeah. And Nicaragua also followed. And you remember when that journalist, Saudi journalist,
Khashoggi.
Yes, Khashoggi was killed in Turkey. Turkey took strong exception to that. So, strictly speaking, diplomatic and consular premises are inviolate. But because Israel felt it can do whatever it wants to do, it decided to attack, to attack the consulate. But now looking at the position of Iran, for so long, Israel has been bombing targets inside Syria, suspected to be harboring military advisors from Iran. This has been going on for long. Okay. So this particular incident of bombing the consulate triggered the reaction from Iran. But Iran had already warned that it was going to retaliate. So it was not something that came from the blues.
It even announced.
Yes, they announced. But one thing that the Western world has not understood, in my opinion, when they decided to isolate Iran, impose punitive sanctions on Iran, they thought that they were going to cripple that country completely and possibly engineer rebellion within the country. But they forgot the isolation of Iran became what is called splendid isolation. They were isolated quite all right, but at the same time, they were developing themselves. Just like when China isolated itself. By the time it came to the world, it came with a bang. And Iran has now shown the world, not only
Israel
and the United States, that it is capable of defending itself. But one thing that people should understand, but the Western world has failed to understand, is that when somebody is pushed to the wall, no matter how weak that person is, he will react. And as I said, Israel thought it was Lord of the Manor as far as the Middle East is concerned.
Now, Ambassador, what is the implication of this? Are we now in for a regional war, or it can even escalate to become a global war?
You see, when I said Syria, Iran was justified.
Yes.
and the barrage of missiles it fired into.
Some are putting it up to 200, some are even saying 300.
About 300 missiles and drones.
Yes.
Even if they said they shot most of them, but others penetrated and did some damage. So the invincibility of Israel that people are talking about has now been shattered.
It has been demystified
by
now.
Iran. It has been demystified. In fact, even when Hamas went into Israel on 7th October and did the damage it did, it shows demystification of Israel. Now, I was reading the news where Israel was asking the United Nations to investigate the military development in Iran.
Yes.
It must have been taken aback that we underrated Iran. But now look at what they have done. This means that they are capable of fighting back. And I remember some years back,
yes,
I was listening to an interview with a professor from Tehran University. And they were asking him about what Israel has been doing in the Middle East. And he said, let Israel not make the mistake of attacking Iran.
He said this?
Yeah, he said it. I listened to it. He said Israel is no match for Iran.
In terms of military capability?
Yes. And I discussed with some of my colleagues who served in our embassy in Tehran.
Yes.
And they told me that Iran did not just sit down. Iran went into developing various types of weapons. And if you look at it in terms of intelligence, they are very intelligent. So nobody should underrate them. And if you look at what is happening, it pains me. Civilization started from the Middle East, including from Iran, that is a Persian country within the Middle East. So why do you want to look at them as if they don't matter? So we are now getting to a situation where we know who is who in that region. If before Iran was taken as a no country, it has shown it is a country to be taken seriously.
Then why the Western media? You know, if you look at the narrative, if you Google now, all the reports, especially from the mainstream media in the West, they don't even make reference or serious reference to Israel's attack on Iran's consulate. They just say, some are even saying unprovoked attack.
No, you know, the Western world or the Western press,
yes,
is not hiding its bias. It is not hiding its bias on reporting on issues outside the Western world. In fact, when reporting about the outside world, you will find that it is skewed to favor their own interest. You will never hear good things coming out of the rest of the world. So, the Western press are not favorable to the rest of the world, and therefore they don't report things the way they are. In a situation like this, whatever the Western world is, the Western press is dishing out, you have to accept it with a pinch of salt.
It may not necessarily be the true picture.
Oh, yes. Let me give you an example.
Yes.
When General Sani Abacha was head of state, the Americans hated his government with a passion. And all the major airports in America, big signboards that the airports in Nigeria are not safe. Lagos, Abuja. I was at Phoenix Airport in Arizona. When I saw the sign, I just challenged the people there. I said, what you are putting there is not true.
You challenged them?
Yes, I challenged them. I said, Lagos Airport, Azikiwe Airport, Nando Azikiwe Airport in Abuja are safer than Phoenix Airport. Just say you don't like Abacha, but don't denigrate the airport and say they are not safe. What will happen? The moment Abacha passed away, they removed the signboard. So the signboard was meant for Abacha, not for Nigeria. You can see how the world, Western world, behaves towards the rest of the world. So I have come to the inevitable conclusion that we have to look inwards to develop.
That is, you are making reference to Nigeria.
Yes.
Just the way Iran is. What is your take on America's disposition to the unfolding event between Israel and Iran? Because earlier they said that Israel should not retaliate. What is your position on this?
Now, you see, America is playing a double game.
Okay.
It instigated Israel to be behaving the way it has been behaving in the Middle East.
So you believe that Israel is not acting on its own volition?
No. Whatever Israel is doing, it is doing because it is convinced, fully convinced, that the Western world and the United States will support them. And if you look at the barrage of missiles fired into Iraq, the British Prime Minister did not feel ashamed to say that British planes shot down the missiles. So Britain came in to the equation.
Yes, to support Israel.
Yes, to support Israel. The same thing with the United Nations. And possibly because of the quality of the missiles fired. That is why America now came to tell Israel not to start a third world war. And that should Israel decide to go into war with Iran, America will not join.
Why do you think they don't want to join?
No, they will not join because they know their interests, not only in the Middle East, but all over, will be in jeopardy. And I said, as I said earlier, I served in America as a diplomat. And at one stage, I was going to America because I had my wife in the United States.
Okay, yes.
So I know what goes on in America. Now, America will push you to do something. And when they find that it doesn't favor them, they just move away. Now, the weapons, most of the weapons that Israel are using the planes they are using, from where did they come? From the United States. And I remember when Bill Clinton was president, I think whether it was Saudi Arabia or one country in the Middle East, I heard him clearly when he was talking. They asked him, this country has asked to buy F-35 fighter planes. He said, yes, they are going to supply them, but the ones they will supply to Israel has some technical or technological advantages.
So they are going to be separate from the ones that you sell to other parts of the world.
So what they give Israel is not the same that you get, they will give others.
Theirs is superior in terms of capabilities.
Yes, superior. So for me, America does not appear, in my opinion, to want to have a peaceful world.
Is it for business interests or for status?
It wants to dominate the world. But fortunately, we have countries like China, like Russia, that are coming out to challenge the hegemony of the United States. It will come to a time when America will lose whatever respect it may have. There's one thing in life, it is always better to be respected than to be feared. At the moment, countries are afraid of the United States because it can impose sanctions on them. But the time will come when that hegemony will not be there. And we have to go back to history. Powerful empires, they are now history. China is coming up forcefully. Russia, as a former American National Security Advisor, Brzezinski, once said that Russia is a first-class military power, but it is a third world economy. But whether it is a third world economy or not, Russia is showing its face all over the world now. And in my opinion, America should begin to cultivate countries on the basis of equality and respect, and not on the basis of fear.
And this brings me to the question, why is the United States interested in protecting Israel, despite all the excesses being exhibited by Israel? Why is America fixated? Why is Britain fixated?
Okay, now, if you understand American politics, they have what they call the powerful Jewish lobby. This powerful Jewish lobby goes around campaigning to see that whatever it is done in the interest of Israel. Any American that wants to make any headway in his political career must identify with the Jewish lobby, must also come out forcefully to identify with Israel.
And what is so special about the Jews? The man on the street, I'm putting myself in the position of someone working on the street or who listens to radio. BBC, VOA, they all, talk about Israel.
You see, the Jewish lobby, they say they control the media and they control the economy. Like one time there was something ridiculous, in my opinion, that happened in Nigeria. Now, what happened? There was going to be a United Nations vote on Cuba. And Nigeria, strictly speaking, was to vote alongside Cuba, to vote in favor of Cuba. I can't remember all the details now.
Yes.
But what happened? Later on, the position changed from the top. We were disappointed. And then there was a time another UN Security Council vote was coming on. And I was told that Netanyahu called our president. And our president changed the recommendation of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Simply because of a call from Netanyahu.
So it's from Netanyahu. And I was talking to some people. The answer I was giving was that, the Jews control the resources of the world. So, in my opinion, we have made Israel to be more important than it really is. And in America, they have made the Jewish lobby more than it should be.
In terms of status and standing in the society.
If you look at the population of the United States, you have a lot of Latinos or Hispanics. You have a lot of black people, indigenous black people, and those that came from Africa. Then you have a lot of Asians. These people don't care about Jewish lobby. It is the white establishment that cares about the Jewish lobby.
Then, is there a nexus between maybe the position of Israel in the Middle East? I mean, in terms of proximity, the wealth in the Middle East, which U.S. is also interested in, and then the support it is getting from the United States and others.
Before Israel became what it later became.
Yes.
U.S. has been involved with the countries in the Middle East.
Yes.
Simply because of the oil.
The oil economy.
Yeah, the oil economy. At that time, the Arabs virtually controlled most of the oil, and they could cripple the economy of the world if they wanted.
And up to now, I think they can do that.
Yes, they can do that, and that is why you see I feel very sad that at the time the Palestinian issue should have been resolved.
Because they have the key, right?
Yes, they have the key. In my opinion, they should have just decided to shut down their oil wells and say, until the Palestinian issue is resolved, they will not open their oil wells. Maybe America will decide to go into war with the Arab countries, but they cannot go into the entire Middle East. In my opinion, the Arab world have not been fair to Palestine. This is my opinion.
The whole Arab world.
Yes. If they had pooled their resources together, they would have liberated Palestine. And now, if you look at the divide and rule tactics, Israel, with the connivance of the United States, is inching into the Middle East, establishing diplomatic relations when the Palestinian issue is still there. In my opinion, those who may not agree with me, they are free to disagree with me. But I feel that the Arab countries should have told Israel and the United States that until the Palestinian issue is resolved, Israel will not have diplomatic relations with any Arab country.
But it is now having such relationships. What will be the implication? Because some people are saying by the time,
yes,
maybe by design or by accident or whatever, Israel or US by extension,
yes,
succeed in eliminating Iran, for instance, it is as good as they have taken over the Middle East and all the Arab countries, including Saudi Arabia. Would that be true?
You see, this is the divide and rule tactics I was talking about. Saddam Hussein was the most powerful leader in the Arab world.
Yes.
They instigated him to invade Kuwait. He annexed Kuwait. After that, they used that as a pretext to attack him. Later on, George Bush Jr. came to complete what his father started. Now, Iraq has been reduced to ashes. They also instigated fight between Iraq and Iran, which lasted for many years.
Yes.
And at that time, people were saying they instigated the fight so that Iraq can destroy Iran. But if you look at the duplicity in diplomacy, when that war was going on and the weapons were being shipped from US to Iraq, then we had that scandal, Iran-Contra affair, where the Defense Secretary, John Podesta, then in the United States, and the go-between Oliver North were shipping arms to Iran through Nicaragua.
Double standard.
Double standard. So Iran and Iraq fought for so many years. But fortunately, the war ended. The two are now very good friends.
They survived.
Yes, they survived. But you see, you have to be careful with international relations and diplomacy. Those Iraqi Shiites that escaped to Iran during the war.
Yes.
After the war, they came back.
They go back to their home country.
Yes, they came back and they became the leaders. And that is why people cannot understand why Iran and Iraq are now friendly. The leaders there are Shiites, Iran Shiites. Saddam Hussein, when he was ruling, he was a Sunni. So you have to be very careful, in my opinion. When you want to plan evil, it may boomerang.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, and then what about the plan, by the United Nations now to consider making Palestine permanent member. Will there be pushback? Are you suspecting pushback from maybe Israel, by extension US, Britain, and the rest?
You see, before I came in, I saw from the news bar that Iran has also applied to join the United Nations Security Council. You see, it's not Iran. It's not just few countries in the world, including Nigeria, that are clamoring for membership of the UN Security Council. This has been going on for years. There has not been any slightest move for it to happen. The 5 key members, that is the permanent members, the 5 of them.
You're talking about France.
I don't think they
US,
are ready.
Britain.
They are ready to allow other countries to join them.
Is it because they have an exceptional privilege?
Yes, when you can veto whatever is decided in favor of the whole world, it's exceptional privilege. But you have to look at the wider international politics. I will explain why it is difficult for the Security Council to be expanded. I start with Africa.
Okay.
Nigeria wants it. South Africa wants it. Egypt wants it. Senegal wants it. Now, how are you going to harmonize and get only one country? It's going to be very difficult. If we are talking of Latin America, I served in Brazil for 5 good years. In Brazil, if we are talking of which country should be a member of the United Nations Security Council, it should be Brazil.
Okay.
But Argentina will never agree.
Okay.
So you have a problem in Latin America. If you go to Asia, naturally Japan should join, but China will oppose it. Okay. So you will not have one country, or you will have other regional groups supporting one country. All the, like if India wants to join, it should be a natural candidate.
For that.
But Pakistan will never agree.
All right.
Because they are sworn enemies.
It's a very serious issue. I wish we have more time to continue with this conversation. But in just 30 seconds.
Yes.
30 seconds, because we have run out of time. Will Israel retaliate this attack, or it will not?
Just Israel can what?
Retaliate the attack. Will it launch attack just in 30 seconds or less, please?
From the way I look at it, it may take time.
Okay.
But it will do it in a cowardly manner.
All right.
Yes, this is the way I look at it.
All right. Thank you very much, Ambassador Suleiman Dahiru, for your informed perspective on the variety of issues, and we thank you for coming to the program.
Okay.
And viewers, that's a wrap on today's package. We hope you found the conversation engaging and informative, and be sure to join Daily Politics airing every weekday on our special package on Friday, during which we open the telephone line for you to comment on national issues. For now, bye-bye from here. I'm Hamza Idris.